Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Naranjo IV, candidate for governor of California 2026. There are a lot of people running in the race to be governor of California. If you've been keeping track and you go to politics1.com, you'll count almost 75 names on that roster. Give or take 25, 27 Republicans and Democrats, and the host of the other parties, American Independent, Non-Party Preference, Independents, Greenpeace, Communist, you name it, they're all there. 75 to 78 names. Now, most of us are having to come up with signatures from the Secretary of State in order to file to get on the ballot. So you're going to see a lot of those names suddenly fall off because they're not meeting the requirements. I'm not going to be one of them. Some of these people have started early. I started in 2023. Others have started before me. A few others started a little bit after me. Let you know, just as a reminder, my name is Naranjo IV, candidate for governor of 2026. I'm not what you call a party favored. I'm not a party endorsed. I'm not a party champion. As a matter of fact, most people in the party dismiss me with the wave of their hand as an afterthought of something they step on the street that they'd rather not have on the bottom of their shoe. But that's what they think of me. The problem is it's not just me that you're thinking of when you do that, because there are a lot of people like me out there. People watching this included. You think the party has any considerations for you? The only time that you're loved, ladies and gentlemen, is during voting day. And they just wrap their little arms around you. But that's because they need your vote. They won't tell you what they think. They just want you to vote what they tell you. We have a gentleman right now that is doing his best to create a new system of government here in California, a new way of trying things, which is interesting if you try them within the scope of how we run in America. But he's bringing in his British ways into our governmental system, and I'm talking about Mr. Steve Hilton. Some of you are going to be a little irritated in me talking about Mr. Steve Hilton, but somebody better start talking about Mr. Steve Hilton. Everybody's afraid to talk about Mr. Bianco and Mr. Hilton. Mr. Bianco, he's already been challenged by me to have a debate. That coward refuses to stand up and answer, much less have one. Why are you afraid of a debate? You want to stand up and be a bully in front of Miss Porter. Oh, you'll take her on. You'll stand up to a woman. You'll kneel to a mob, but you won't go toe-to-toe with a military veteran retired out of the Army. Is it because your time as a sheriff is probably outranged by my time in the service, or in county service, or in federal service, or in state service? Could your 30 years of experience be overshadowed by my 36 years of experience? You being a sheriff outweighs me being a union member. You've dealt with government, so have I. You've dealt with budgets, so have I. You ever had a top secret clearance before from the United States government? I have. I'm not too sure about you. I'm pretty sure Steve Hilton has not had that clearance level. Matter of fact, what has Steve Hilton done in the United States government? Nothing, as you accuse me of doing and knowing. Mr. Hilton hasn't served the United States military, I know that. Hasn't taken an oath from a military perspective. As far as I know, has never held the United States top secret clearance issued by his government. He came over to be a citizen and now thinks that he can run America. And he's doing the UK form of government methodology by running a slate, thinking that if he wins, everybody on his ticket will win with him. Doesn't work that way, sir. The party's championing you because you raise money for them. The only thing that you have going for you is you're on Fox News. They're pushing you, Fox News. And a lot of other people are pushing you. You worry more about Gavin Newsom than anybody else on the campaign trail seems to care about Mr. Gino Gavin Newsom. Every time he passes gas, you sniff around, in the rude sense of explanation. I still personally think that you're pissed off because he never allowed you onto his podcast to interview you. And that was very affrontish for your sensibilities. Personally, I wouldn't care to be on that man's podcast to have any type of conversation. The man's an abject idiot. He's destroyed the state. We all know that. Doesn't have the sense to rub two pennies together. Now he's out there being treated just like some of the grassroots candidates are here in America. Nobody knows him. Nobody cares to know him. Nobody really gives a rat's ass what he has to say. And if he thought he was going to buffalo the president in his own cabal, he just got embarrassed by tossed out of the U.S. hotel forum, whatever you want to call it, and not allowed to speak. Some of what you're trying to do to us here. But I digress. Nobody knows who Gino Gavin is in Europe. Nobody cares to know who Gino Gavin is in Europe. And the only reason why we even know he's in Europe is because the people of the media that keep running around behind him taking pictures and giving him a chance to speak. Why? He is not important as you treat some of us here. You're trying to make him relevant for America. The Europeans already know where he's at. He's on the lower end of the bottom of your shoe when you're walking across the grass. But I digress. Let's go back to Mr. Hilton. Slates. You picked up a Democrat who just flipped to Republican. But this Democrat has ushered in many of our problems that we have here today. Where was she in impeding some of these laws, rules, and regulations that we have right now? Ms. Romero, you haven't done jack. You helped usher them in. Where have you been on some of the things that are happening around America today, much less California at present? Have you reached out to the Colemans? I don't think so. Have you reached out to the Cruz family? I don't think so. Are you aware of what's happening in your campaign when you post on X, smile, your little smile? I don't think so. But you might be because you posted something behind me on something I said. So I know you're aware. Naranjo is a name just like Romero. We're both Hispanic. You happen to be the female version of Hispanic. The Tweety birds in the political world say that you were picked up as a candidate because you're high profile. You used to be a Dem. You supposedly have all the connections. You're supposedly helping Steve navigate a system that he previously said he already knows how to navigate. Or did you forget that, Mr. Hilton? And so that's why you're now his so-called running mate. But alas, you have to run your own campaign. We're trying to smooth that one over so that people forget that little portion of the election process. Rumor has it we're trying to play politics with race. Is that what the Republicans are doing now? Race baiting? Are we doing identity politics, Republicans? Race baiting? You thought Ms. Romero was going to pick up the Hispanic vote for your guy, Steve Hilton? Romero, we're going to get her on our side. That way that'll smooth the Hispanics to your side. Which version of the Hispanics are we talking about? The ones legitimately here or the ones that are illegitimately here? Identity politics is interesting because they cause many problems. Part of my training in the military was what they called EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity, Equal Opportunity Employment, Equal Opportunity, Race Relations, whole 9 yards. I went through that training. It's most interesting at the Army during my days, back in the day. Got to see a lot of things I wish I really didn't have to see, because now some of these things don't clear the mind. They're still there. Do I see sexism in commercials? Of course I do. Do I see sexism here online? Of course I do. What most people see is the pretty young lady on the air trying to make a news report, trying to make a political statement or anything. From what they taught me in the military, that's sexism in full view. You're trying to heighten your femininity to get people to look at your breast size, your legs, or your hips, and then forget who you are and what you should be trying to do. But then if somebody stares at you too long, you want to holler about misogyny, males looking at you and leering over you over a sexual object. Well, when you put yourself out there, that's what you're going to get. We all know from the LA what two women I'm talking about, but I'll leave their names out for now. So Ms Romero, playing a little bit of politics with Mr. Hilton in identity, Hispanic. The British guy. Contrary to your popular belief, Steve, you're not Hungarian. You're Hungarian by descent, but you were born in London, England. The question is whether or not you actually are a dual citizen. You claim you're not, but nobody has seen paperwork renouncing that officially. Nobody has stamped or stormed into the British side of the equation to ask them if they've officially received your renunciation of your dual citizenship status. Why is that? We seem to be avoiding that question, but why is it being avoided? We seem to be able to ask the Brits all kinds of other things. Why not that? Media hypes and political pundits. You want to parrot what Ronald Reagan says about blasting Republicans. Well, why don't you parrot the other thing that he used to say, trust but verify. I don't trust the man. Nobody should trust the man. No, we haven't verified jack. He wants to carve out $20 billion for illegal medical funding. First off, how do you even know that they're illegals getting funded by the Medi-Cal program unless you know who they are? And the favorite and best way to figure that out on reducing any cost is just to have them removed. You're talking about reducing funding, but you're not talking about fixing the problem. And that's reducing the funding, what, today, so that you can replace it tomorrow? You're kind of footloose and fancy-free on the illegal question. I'm not. Look at my website. It's pretty plain, pretty upfront. Statements I've made, plain and upfront. Got into it with Mr. Alex Villanueva down south in L.A. That guy running for sheriff, yes, him. Back and forth, he and I went over the problem of unauthorized citizens from other nations in our state. I'm the only candidate who's endorsed that man for sheriff. For the internet world to hear, let me repeat it. I, Leo Naranjo IV, have gone on his website and have already previously made an announcement that I'll duplicate again here. I have officially announced Mr. Villanueva, Alex by name, for the sheriff of LA County, the only governor candidate who has done that to date. But Leo, you and him clash over the illegal question. Yes, we do. Yes, we have. We agree to disagree at the moment. But Mr. Villanueva has not stated that he is for amnesty. Obviously, if he makes a major change, so must I. But in our back and forth, he never leaned into that. He never said anything about that. He never referenced anything about that, much less brought it up. Mr. Bianco has. He's all for it. He's all for not getting rid of sanctuary state. He's all for realigning sanctuary state status. He's happy and content with having that stay just where it's at. Why would that be? He's not supportive of ICE. Roadblocks, yeah, but he's not supportive of ICE, not currently, no, and I doubt that he will if he was governor, if he was ever elected, and hopefully he won't be. I think he's going to drop out. $750,000 paycheck after 2 more years. Yeah, I got my own personal opinions on that. But Mr. Hilton, Ms Romero, Ms Romero, you're playing the Hispanic game. Because it's coming out now in whispers and rumors and other sections of the political party network in the Republican side of the House, you, sir, are taking a second bite of the apple. What apple am I talking about? Race. You're playing the race card. Now, I'm not sure about your accolades. I'm not sure about your educational experiences, but I'll let you in on some of mine. What do you know about the welfare system? Not a damn thing. Only what you're told. Have you ever worked it? Probably not. You were in it, from what I read. You never want to go back to it, from what I read. But you've never worked the programs. You don't even know about the people in the programs. Why am I saying the race card? Well, Mr. Hilton's put up a post here the last couple of days dealing with education and the opportunities black kids are getting in failed schools. Black kids. You could look at that phrase, one or the other. Some people are going to be really ticked off at me about why am I bringing this up at all. Like I said, Army training kind of like doesn't leave you no matter how many years you've been out of it. Kind of like riding a bicycle, it's there. Black kids, why would you say that? Why would you use those words? Black children might have been a little bit more acceptable, but I'm still stuck on that word black. African American, I get that. I was a culture worker in California welfare department, Department of Human Assistance, culture worker. Which culture? African American culture. Special skills. They gave us that. You had to train for that. You had to be tested for that, of all things. Today, I think they call it DEI, but it wasn't that way when I signed up for the county. African American culture worker. Mayor might cost me points, but that's what I was. And the test was 15 minutes long in front of 2 African American women who drilled you with questions. Predetermined questions. Younger lady, about in her 30s. Slightly older woman. Excuse me. About in her 40s or 50s. 15 minutes, boop, boop, in and out. Answer questions. Pass or fail based on their grading. I made the grade. Not only did I make the grade, I was in that interview for an hour, sir. The tape ran out on me. They had to replace the tape with a new one, sir. And by the time I was done, both ladies looked at themselves and collectively said in the open, we have to redo all the questions we've ever asked candidates moving forward in the future. Excuse me, based on the questions and answers that I provided during that interview. Ooh, that's impactful. Got to fan myself for that one. I'll pat myself on the back too. Because look at me. I don't look African American. Come down to the welfare office, a lot of people thought I was. The clientele thought I was. Hell, I had people who showed up after talking to me on the phone for months, demanding to see me because they didn't believe I was who I said I was. There's no way you could be Mr. Naranjo. He's African American. Okay, surprise. Black kids kind of stuck in my craw. That's one. Then I get the word that you're going after a candidate on the lieutenant governor's side and trying to get her to drop out of the race. Why is that? Have you reached out to the Dolly camp to get him to quit? I don't think so. Have you reached out to the Jones camp to get him to quit? Well, I'm pretty sure you haven't done him either. But I don't know. That's speculation. I'll give you that. But I do know that you reached out to the first African-American candidate running for the position of lieutenant governor, and you're trying to squeeze her out. That is Ms. Ebie Lynch. Why do I know this? Because a couple of years ago, Ms. Lynch and I had a conversation about this very thing, the race in California in 2026. And guess what? I encouraged that young lady to run for lieutenant governor. Make the mark, set the tone. Get into that niche. You can go from there. She thought I was kind of silly, a little touched. Lo and behold, where is she right now? Campaigning for what? Lieutenant governor. As an African-American woman. Isn't that amazing? Have you ever had one of those in California? Not that I saw. You got anybody of color running on the party? Have to think about that one. No, that gentleman flipped over to an independent. Sorry, Mr. Tillman, not you. It's not an issue, but you're making it an issue. And now you're trying to go after the African-American female lieutenant governor in the race. It's hard enough in today's society to be a woman and get respect. And I'm pretty sure folks listening to me out there understand this next statement. It's even harder when you're an African-American woman running for office. And you know why. And you're trying to squeeze her out? Why? You think that that vote is less than the Hispanic vote in this state? You need to have a long, hard talk with your staff and yourself on what you're doing. Ms. Romero needs to have a long, hard talk with herself on what she's party to. And your whole campaign structure needs to have a long, hard talk on itself on trying to attack an African-American woman running for lieutenant governor in this state. Romero's there for the Hispanic vote. That's the claim. That's the perception. You picked up Mr. Gates because you think he's a wonderful lawyer out of Huntington Beach. That gentleman got fired for cause from the feds. For those of you that don't know what that means, you really have to F up in federal employment service to get fired for cause. Now I'll give you this. They reversed the paperwork and made a correction and allowed that gentleman, Mr. Gates, to resign and or retire without the termination for cause on his record. But what you don't hear is the dropping of the claim that the reason why he was terminated was because he created a hostile working environment towards women. Oh my. Created a hostile working environment towards women. Ooh, there's been some rumors floating around and some things that I've heard in the political world about how you were down south towards women. Have that long, hard talk amongst your peers, your staff, your campaigns, whatever it is you need to have the long, hard talk about. Because again, you're stumbling with smoke and mirrors to play to whatever audience that you are trying to play to. Somebody posted a real big statement online about just that fact on what Mr. Hilton does in front of certain groups of people. We all know politicians play to their crowd. He does a little bit more than just that. That's the phoniness. Vet your candidates, put them to the hard questions. But I'd be very careful with this one, Mr. Hilton. You don't have to believe me, but you might want to take a second look on what you're fiddling with when you start going down the path of alienating the African American culture in California. And you're playing with the Hispanic culture too. And from what I remember in my days, people who went through the process really do get pissed off at the people who violate the process. So I'm not sure who you're trying to court. The regular Hispanic community or the unauthorized Hispanic community. Looks like you're trying to get both of them. Socialist leaning, hang with socialist candidates. David Serpa is the biggest socialist candidate the Republicans are now fielding at the moment. In case you weren't aware, ladies and gentlemen, yes, he is. We'll see what else comes up on this so-called slate of tickets. Who else has been attempted to be squeezed out or forced out or bought out, as a couple of gentlemen, I believe, have. Names not included right now. But yeah, there's a lot of shenanigans going on. And this isn't about winning an election. This is about procuring an anointment. And California is not there for this. Highlighting all the fraud that's here. Somebody made a post about you, Mr. Hilton, and this is green pastures for you. That's scary, if that's your intent. But right now, the political word of the day is you scramble to renounce that citizenship without proof because the people in Washington are trying to ensure people like you can't run for office in our country. Why would that be? I mean, you're really nervous about that connection to England because you're now trying to tell people you're Hungarian, and you're not. You're Hungarian in birth, but by birth you were born in London, England. So with that being said, I want to wish you all a happy evening. Best wishes. Have a great day. Hopefully tomorrow the sun will finally break so we can do some positive things in sunlight instead of looking at clouds, clouds, and more clouds all through the afternoon. You guys have a great day, and we will see you later. Take care. Leo Naranjo IV for governor. California 2026, Leo Naranjo, the number 4, gov.com. Check it out, look it out, drop some questions, drop some dollars, drop some donations, drop some hints, drop some comments. Don't forget to check out a recent podcast with Vem Miller on Rumble. Leo Naranjo's challenge to Chad Bianco and why he refuses to accept the challenge. You'll see me on YouTube, Leo Naranjo IV, all kinds of commentaries. Check you guys out later. Take care. Good night. God bless.